Welcome, once again, to Pandora's box.
Baltinko stiaquatam pukale.
Welcome, once again, to Pandora's box. The only show you'll ever need. You're listening to Aspen Waite Radio, but you might also be watching us on the tubes, or on Spotify, or anywhere in the world that you can possibly watch podcasts. I think that's right, isn't it? Isn't it, Young Bullwinkle?
Listen.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard.
What
You can only
streets
see
are
it
saying.
on YouTube, but you can listen to it on any podcast platform.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's worth watching it on YouTube to get the full experience.
Full effect.
Taking our visages.
Yeah. Look at these
Sure.
sexy
Full
visages. I mean,
visages.
look how chubby I am.
Yeah.
Get to know the people behind the voices. I know you might be sitting there
And the man
wondering,
behind the lens.
Are these people really real?
they might be,
That's what they might be thinking, but...
from just our voices alone, they might be imagining that, like, you know, you look like Danny DeVito, I look like Simon Cowell, and Drew looks like Vern Troyer.
I do love that. I do love that when you just don't know what the person looks like and you listen and then you actually get to see them. It's like, oh.
Or like when you're reading a book, but sometimes it can be annoying, like, you know, if like you read a book and you have this
and you
real
have this
image of what
image
somebody
in
looks
your
like,
head.
and then they make like a movie or a show, and then they look nothing like it, and you're like really disappointed.
Yeah, I hope we're not like disappointing people.
Yeah.
I've definitely had it. I've definitely had it when I've heard I've been listening to podcasts and then I've like actually watched the video version and be like,
yeah,
that's
but
not what I
they're
thought
not
they'd
as
look
sexy
like.
as us, man.
I like
True.
I like the idea.
True,
I like
man.
the idea that like people think that Drew looks like is it Warwick Davis? The guy, you know.
What, have people said that?
No. I like the idea that people would just listen to that and just assume that Warwick Davis is the guy. Have you seen the movie Willow, like the AT fantasy?
Yeah,
movie?
what, the little...
He's the little dwarf guy. The hair's,
Yeah, that's me.
The hair's not dissimilar. I don't think he's got but he's got quite like curly hair and stuff.
No, I'm Skrillex today.
You're Skrillex. But I love the idea that for some reason people just should naturally assume that's you. Naturally assume that Bullwinkle looks like Danny DeVito.
Why would we all just be like dwarves?
Danny DeVito's not a dwarf, he's just small.
Is he not?
No.
Just at 4'5".
I like that you actually think Danny DeVito's a dwarf. I'm mad. I am like 99% sure Danny DeVito's just a small man.
Danny DeVito
No
in
way.
Batman,
Yeah.
Batman Forever,
Yeah, you're
the
telling
Penguin.
me. Yeah,
I reckon
you're
he's
telling me that guy.
He's
not
about like
a dwarf.
5'5" or something. I don't think he's like.
He's tiny.
He's not. That's like short, but it's not a dwarf.
1.47 meters, 4'10".
He's 4 foot. He's
4'10", bro.
Whoa! I didn't realize he was that.
That's
Yeah.
short. That's
I
like
don't-
Hobbit
I still don't
style.
think
Penguin.
I still don't think he's technically a dwarf, is he? Because dwarfism is like a thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I don't-
it's like having like asthma.
Yeah, I don't
It's
think
like
he's got a
you're born
disability,
with
no.
something like, you know that makes you have dwarfism. You know, like Wee Man, like from Jackass, Wee Man, or like Warwick Davis, as we were talking about. It's like a
Or
genetic.
Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah, or Peter Dinklage, aka Tyrion Lannister. It's like you're born with something that inhibits your growth.
What is dwarfism? Dwarfism is when a person is short in stature and is commonly defined as
short
an
and
adult
stout.
height of 4 feet 10 inches or under.
Oh, so it's borderline.
So
He's like
Danny
borderline.
DeVito is a tall dwarf.
So is he like right? So this is for the debate. Is he like the shortest you could possibly be as a man, or is he the tallest you could possibly be as a dwarf? What does it say? 4'10" and under.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
it says or under.
And he is
4'11",
He is 4'10".
Is he bang on 4'10",
Yeah.
is he?
I reckon he's a dwarf.
So he is technically a dwarf.
Yeah.
Then? Oh mate, I stand corrected.
Look at that.
I stand
Look at
corrected.
that.
I would say, I would say man rather than dwarf for Danny DeVito if you would just like say off the top of my head.
Because he
you know.
doesn't, like almost like as well, like
Yeah.
dwarves sometimes have like certain characteristics. Yeah, yeah, you know. Like it, I don't know, like for whatever reason,
which is because of the dwarfism, like you said, like the genetic thing.
Yeah.
It gives it a certain type of like look to the bone structure and everything like that. But Danny DeVito doesn't really have that. He just he looks like a normal man, but just like shorter. You know.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Because
That's
like
what
you
I
say,
thought.
because dwarfism is classified as a disability, but
Oh.
he seems like he's just quite short. Do you know what I mean?
the bones normally looks like small, like
But there's,
Yeah,
isn't it like
yeah.
one of those things though? Like there are some certain things about them. Like this is right. Sorry to go a little bit X-rated already. Haven't I? Isn't it like their
they're bits of the
their
same size as,
genitalia, like the same pages, the same size as like a normal like man's?
I didn't know that.
Or you know what I mean? So like. So in terms of like proportionate to their body,
with his, you're like a little tripod standing there.
yeah. So it would be like it would be like, you know, like a regular, say like a 5'10" man, like someone like your size. It would be like, if that was the case with you.
I'm only a foot off a dwarf.
It would be like the size of like your leg from like the knee down or something. Your schlong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I'd be happy with that.
I was trying to think of like
lucky ones.
I was trying to think of like a polite word for imagine. I was like, with your schlong.
Your pole.
Yeah. You're meeting two veg. Just two giant grapefruits.
So what we've come to terms with is the dwarfs are the lucky ones in life, really. Maybe. Depending on how you look at it.
I can't remember. Did I tell you guys about, or did I talk to you guys about that video recently of Brock Lesnar slamming Wee Man on a table?
Yeah, you sent me it, yeah.
Mate, it's so funny.
Did Wee Man survive?
I just want to clarify as well. Like, I don't think it's not like Brock like attacked Wee Man. Apparently, Wee Man, obviously being the guy from Jackass, so he likes doing stunts and stuff like that for a living. Apparently, the Jackass guys were in a bar somewhere in, I think it was America. Would make sense.
Come on, man.
And Brock Lesnar was walking through, and all the Jackass lads were like, all like had been drinking and stuff, and they saw Brock Lesnar, and obviously Brock Lesnar's like a beast. And then apparently Wee Man was like, Brock, slam me on this table, and it was just like this like really nice restaurant or something, and he was apparently Brock was like,
all right.
Well, they were all at WWE, weren't they? Because Johnny Knoxville went. I think Johnny Knoxville joined the Royal Rumble.
Oh my god, it's so funny, isn't it? Johnny Knoxville. But then apparently Brock was just like, are you sure you want to do this? And Wee Man was like, yeah, dude. And he was like, all right, well, you know, if I'm going to do it, don't like have a go or anything afterwards. And he was like, no, dude. And there's just like this hilarious video online of Brock Lesnar just slamming Wee Man on this table. And obviously where it's like just a really like solid restaurant table, not like one of the little flimsy ones they use in wrestling. Obviously he just like bounces off. But I swear there's like, but I swear there's like glasses and cutlery on the table and everything as well. So you can imagine how much that would hurt your back.
Oh man.
Like, like that.
Did he break anything or like?
God knows.
Slamming yourself on the table hurts. I used to do like me and my friends used to do like wrestling moves and stuff on each other. It was like a kid all the time.
Mate, you're preaching to the choir.
Film it and stuff.
Yeah.
And did you ever like? I once like front flipped onto like almost like tried to splash someone onto a table and like didn't complete the flip and just like landed on my back
like a belly flop
on the table and really hurt.
Oh mate,
yeah, it was awful.
I've been F5'd a few times by Calum.
Man, me and our friend Luke Rose, shout out Luke Rose, used to have some crazy wrestling matches. I remember once we were walking back from a gig, and there was like a local place in our town, and it was a big building. It was like a big swimming pool area and stuff like that. And then they had like this like bin, but it was like a cage. Okay. It was like a cage. They usually padlocked it, but whoever was locking up that night, I'd obviously forgotten to padlock it, so it was shut, but it wasn't padlocked.
Right for the picking.
And inside it, where obviously there was like a swimming pool inside, they had, you know, all those like, can you think of those like generic white plastic round tables that you would have in like somewhere like a swimming resort or anything like that,
like a barbecue type of thing.
Yeah,
plastic tables.
Yeah, and they were like solid, but they were quite brittle, so they could snap. Like, you know what I mean? And I remember we were just like, oh my god, like this place is open, we could have a Hell in a Cell match in here, because it was essentially like a big cage with all these tables in, and man, that got messy. I remember there's this move called a Death Valley Driver. I Death Valley Drivered Luke through a table, and it literally like smashed into like pieces, and then he like picked up one of the legs, and there was like a bit of like sharp jaggedy plastic that was like sticking out of it, almost like a weird club, and he like smacked me with it, and I've got a scar like on my shoulder to this day from where it just like stuck in my shoulder. And then I think I like picked up like one of the whole tops of like a table where there was like a table that hadn't had the legs attached, and I smashed the whole thing really hard over his head, and his head was like pouring out blood. God. And I remember like he had like blonde long hair at the time, and his whole hair was like red.
We used to and
our friend Willie, by the end we did it for about half an hour, and like Luke was like climbed up on the corner of the thing and everything, like put me on a table and like did like a swanton bombing through the table, and we did all these crazy moves. And then I just remember it ended up with our friend Willie, who's also in Death by Kai with Drew, and he was just like, all right, guys, I think that's enough now. Because by that point, we were both just like bleeding, and it was just like carnage.
Did Willie do anything? Or,
no, he was the voice of reason that night. Me and Luke were being crazy, and Willie was just got to the point where like Luke literally had like blood all over his face and all in his hair, and that his head was like wet with blood, and I had like blood pouring down like my back and my shoulder and stuff. And he was like, I think that's enough now, guys. And then we were just like,
done now, guys.
oh right then, yeah. And then I think one of us pinned the other one, and then we just like went home.
when I was young, we used to like film storylines, WWE storylines, and we'd like plan it out. And every week we'd go to my house and like put them up on YouTube and stuff.
That's hilarious, man.
So fun, and it all built towards Halloween.
Are they
horror.
still on YouTube?
No.
Are they not?
No, they got like deleted for some reason. But I
was gonna say, I'd love to see that.
They'll be somewhere, but they're so funny. But I remember some stuff happened playing back there. I broke my hand getting Sweet Chin music off of a trampoline.
Oh man!
Someone got drop kicked into a pond.
That's cool.
That was quite cool. But yeah, good memories, man. I used to love going home from school and setting it up. I remember my friend Joey got hit with a guitar.
What? And actually, like the guitar like smashed?
No. You just heard like boom. and it would have been better if it smashed.
Yeah.
Because it would look.
But at the same time, it would have been a complete waste of a guitar.
Yeah.
In a way, do you know what I mean? Like it would have been cool. There was a wrestler called Jeff Jarrett, and that was almost like his finishing move. But I always think almost like because of the fact he was doing that every week, it's almost like a shame. Like how many?
They would have been
They just had a load of encores.
Yeah.
100 encores.
Yeah.
They would have been like fake guitars though, right? Like props, I assume. I reckon they must have been props.
You can get guitars pretty cheap. I remember my first guitar was a nylon string, and it cost me £18.50 from Argos.
And also like acoustic, like especially not a very well made one. It wouldn't take a lot to like break it over a big guy.
It's only like laminate wood on the back and side.
But if I would imagine if they're for instance, this was probably what WWF. Yeah.
Oh no, I think it was Jeff Jarrett was in WWF for a while, but he was mainly in TNA.
Okay, yeah, but obviously like huge budgets.
Oh yeah.
Like I think when they're like smashing lights and stuff on each other, that's always like props that are built to smash.
Oh yeah, sure.
It wouldn't surprise me if the guitars are like just made.
They look. I don't know. To me, from seeing it, they look like normal guitars.
Really?
Yeah, they just look like normal guitars.
Oh, that's
and the way
paper mache.
And also like as somebody that's obviously like owned acoustic guitars like since I was sort of like a teenager, the way they break and the amount of force it looks like they're using it to break them, it looks about spot on.
Yeah.
Like if I randomly picked up this acoustic and like broke it over you guys, that the same sort of force looks about like the same sort of force that Jeff Jarrett would use, you know?
Oh my god.
Talking about Dwarves, actually, there's a really hilarious video I think of Jeff Jarrett hitting a doing
with
that
a guitar
with like some dwarf wrestler.
Hornswoggle maybe.
No, it was like it wasn't. It wasn't Hornswoggle.
Oh, one of the most impressive dwarfs that I saw was that guy that we were listening to a rap thing from Pandora.
Oh yeah,
from Rap Radar.
What's his name? Bushwick Bill or something.
Yeah, and he was a rapper, but he had an epic voice, like he had an epic rap voice and everything, and it was almost that thing about the appendages, like the sound of his voice was just like, you know, like an awesome rapper, you know.
Yeah.
Well, not for some reason I think like would you be like more high pitched maybe, like in a smaller, but
yeah.
You know,
I get what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
like,
I get what you mean, of course. Yeah.
Everything's more like, you know, compact, and you'd be like.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that at all.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
no, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean.
Oh god. Yeah, no, Bushwick Bill from the Ghetto Boys.
Ah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
crazy. Cool. So cool.
Him and Peter Dinklage, they're my two faves, I think.
I haven't even announced us today. So we got so carried away. We had all this like educational stuff to talk to you all about today, and we've just somehow like sunk to
not even introduced ourselves.
Talking about silly wrestling matches that we've had.
And Dwarf's voices.
Bullwinkle when he was like a small child, uploading his weird storylines onto YouTube and breaking
dwarf
his
schlongs.
And me talking about my weird ridiculously bloody Hell in a Cell matches. Yeah, dwarf schlongs and how proportionately they've got like, you know, proportionate to the size of their bodies, they've essentially got giant schlongs.
And deep voices.
So, you know, we had all this really educational stuff planned, but our deeper natures have shone through.
Gone to the butchery.
That's the thing with Pandora's box, man. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
It's like a box of chocolates.
So, I will quickly announce us. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Calum Waite, or is my name, in fact? Obadiah Penny Whistle. To the left of me, we have Mr. Nathaniel Warren. He is the host of the Rap Radar on Sundays from 8 until 10 p.m. But today, his name will be Flambard.
I'm Flambard.
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 Nice.
Flambard.
Isn't Flambard's a place? Have you ever been to Jungo Flambard?
I think it's in Belgium, isn't it? Is Flambard in Belgium?
I swear it's a thing like Butlins, and it's like called
is it?
Flambards. And it's like there's something like that.
Flambard's theme park.
Yes, I told you, look.
Mate, that's your theme park.
You are.
I'm gonna have to go there now.
He has a theme park.
Is there a place called Flambard in Belgium as well, or have I literally just made
Only
that
thing
up?
that's coming up is Flambard's theme park. So
Yes.
Nice one, man.
Drew wins.
To the right of me, we have Mr. Drew Armstrong, otherwise known as Skrillex.
Yes.
Here today, we have Skrillex in the studio. Skrillex has taken over.
And if you
want to
know why, then go on the YouTube channel and check out my freshly cut undercut.
Yeah, man, fresh undercut. So, I guess, to try and actually bring the tone of the show up a little bit, we should actually talk about something that's genuinely interesting and actually like educational, rather than just us talking about dwarf schlongs and wrestling matches, and whether Jeff Jarrett did or did not actually break real guitars over people's heads, including dwarves.
Hey, that's educational.
It's all coming back to dwarves today for some reason. It all started just because I said that I like the idea that people thought that you look like Warwick Davis if they didn't see you on YouTube.
And I still don't know who Warwick Davis is.
But really, maybe we could get up a picture of Warwick Davis.
Yeah, get a picture of Warwick Davis.
Type in Willow, actually. Just type in Willow.
Oh, yeah. No, you did say sorry.
Type in Willow, the fantasy movie. So, because I like the idea that they think that he looks like Warwick Davis.
Hey, there he is.
In Willow. So that. So just for the people that are listening on the radio and on Spotify or whatever, old Flambard over here has just got a picture up of Warwick Davis in Willow. So if you don't know who that is, check it out on YouTube. Just type in Pandora's Box Podcast. Give us a subscribe, and check out the video to see who I think that most people just naturally assume Drew is. I love the idea that there's almost like really overly casual, like they're just like, oh yeah, well obviously he looks like this. And then they see you and they're like, what?
I think we're sat at like a really big table as well.
Yeah. They just think I look exactly like Simon Cowell. It's a no from me. Anyway, I was going to talk to you guys about the U.S.S. Indianapolis. You ever heard about this ship?
Indianapolis.
So this was a ship. This was this ship was in use, was in service during the Second World War, and it's actually like a very, very crucial ship of the war. It was it delivered the components of the Hiroshima bomb.
Ooh.
It delivered the components of the Hiroshima bomb, and then when it was on its way back to the US, it got torpedoed by a Japanese submarine. And the ship sank, and 1,000 US servicemen, US Navy, were then stranded in the ocean.
Stranded in the ocean?
Yep, they were stranded in the ocean, and they were there for days and days and days. And most of them just got eaten by sharks as they were like floating in the Pacific Ocean. And it was like it's considered the worst like shark killing in history. So it was basically just like a bloodbath. And there were like, from some of the survivors, there were like US Navy that have survived the ordeal. I talk about it today, and they said it was literally like a living nightmare. They said that they would be like floating on these like rafts and stuff in the water, literally in the middle of the sea, and then it was almost like, and then suddenly you just hear and then all this like commotion, and you like look over and you just see someone getting dragged down, and then there's like even people that say like, there'd be like a friend of theirs like hanging onto a raft, and then they suddenly be like, and then they just like get pulled under, and then all this like blood would just like come up.
So terrifying.
And you'd almost just be sitting there like, oh my god, is it me next? But I'm pretty sure something like 70% of the people, like of the 1,000 people that were like floating, like over like 70% of them got eaten by sharks.
That's crazy.
It's literally considered like the worst shark attacks ever in history. So, as I said, if you are on YouTube, young Flambard over here has got up some pictures, an actual picture, I think, of the event. So
shark circling them.
As I said, they were eventually rescued, and I think this shot was taken. I think it was. I want to say off the top of my head that it was black tip sharks that were responsible for the killings. So they are very sort of prevalent in
white tip sharks.
Is it white tip sharks?
White tip sharks.
Oh, close enough. So they're very prevalent in the Pacific Ocean, and they are quite aggressive sharks. But yeah, it just turned into like a massive feeding frenzy.
It's crazy,
I almost like imagine it. When you've got like a big fish tank, and you just like suddenly just like throw like a handful of fish food in.
Yeah, and so you're like.
Yeah, it was almost looks like that, but like the people with the fish food.
Are they with blood, like certain animals can smell blood from like really far away? Are sharks like that?
Oh,
man.
Sharks are the king to that.
Man, I know that. I don't know about, because obviously all sharks are going to be a slightly different.
So that would have just attracted so many more as well. If there was already like so much blood in the water, and they're like full of those kind of sharks, they'd have just been coming from miles.
Yeah.
around.
I don't know if this is like an urban myth or something, but I do remember hearing ages ago that like a great white shark can sense a drop of blood within like a 4-mile radius or something. Like that's how in tune they are.
Yeah,
to
that's
blood.
mental.
So they just almost like it's almost just like a radar, and then they just like hone in on it.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. So that's why it's like it's really important if you're like in areas of the world, say like South Africa or California, Australia, like really be careful. Obviously, not to like if you accidentally like cut your leg on like on any reef or something.
Get out of there.
Yeah, probably go back to the beach and like get that sorted out, like let it dry up and stuff before you get back in, because otherwise it's almost like
not worth risking.
Yeah, it's almost like setting off like a little smoke alarm. Do you know what I mean? So like anybody in here, like a flare or something. Do you know what I mean? But just like to anything that might want to eat you.
Well, that's how you attract them, isn't it? You like just throw loads buckets of chum.
Oh, chum.
Yeah, which is all just like fish bits.
Yeah,
and
fish
blood
guts
and
and all
stuff.
that.
Yeah, man. I'm just trying to find if I can actually
mental.
see just like look it up a second and see how many people actually did manage to survive.
Total crew.
Yeah.
1,196.
Yeah.
Initial survivors 900. There was only 316 that were saved.
Yeah, so all of the rest of them got eaten by sharks. Or I guess maybe 1 or 2 of them drowned, maybe. But I'm pretty sure like the majority of them, got eaten by sharks. That's savage,
Mental,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, bit of a sad one that is.
Things like that. No wonder why
Brutal.
things like Jaws like got made. Do you know what I mean? Like a couple of decades
yeah.
after that, you know?
Because isn't it actually like not like shark attacks aren't. You're much more likely to die of other things than shark attacks.
Oh yeah, like
on a yearly basis, like what they say.
Yeah,
1,000,000%.
Like most sharks wouldn't obviously actively attack humans.
Humans.
There are some ridiculously aggressive types of shark that probably would, like bull sharks, for example. I think bull sharks,
Tiger sharks, bull sharks.
I was going to say bull sharks are like the most aggressive, but tiger sharks as well. The thing about things like tiger sharks and bull sharks is they'll eat like anything.
Yeah, I think tiger sharks aren't as aggressive, but it's just more the fact they'll literally eat anything.
And tiger sharks are a bit bigger as well.
Bull sharks can go up rivers though, which is what makes them like even more terrifying.
Yeah, they can breathe in fresh water and in. So it's like that's one of the reasons why Australia is almost like so dodgy, because it's almost like when you've got the rivers that are obviously connected to the sea. Not only do you have to deal with like giant salties, but there's also could just be bull sharks. They think that the bull sharks go up the rivers to give birth to their young because
like
obviously
salmon.
yeah. Because it's like safer. It's safer, like for a young bull shark.
Okay.
Right. Say if you're like a 2-foot long bull shark, it's safer in a river. There's not many things other than like salties. There's not many things that will eat
Less
them.
predators, yeah.
Whereas in the sea,
So are they seawater fish like sharks?
Yeah.
That's crazy that they can, they can breathe still.
Well, only bull sharks can.
That's crazy, isn't it? Because I thought, you're either a seawater or a freshwater.
Yeah.
Kind of like
it's
with
weird
your
that
gills and stuff.
It's weird that like a couple. I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting to find if there are any other examples of fish that can live like that. So, I mean, I'm sure there are.
The
a
amount of
couple.
salt in seawater is just like.
But it is weird that as you said, like bull sharks, like if you say like just dropped a great white shark in a river or a lake, it would die. It would die. But it's cool. It's like random that a bull shark can just
like it must be that thing of it's part of their nature to go in rivers and give birth.
Yeah,
They've almost like develop this like
evolutionary advantage.
Yeah, to be able to like.
It's an evolutionary advantage. Just like, as I said, like if you think about the ocean, it's so big and it is full of so many predators
So
that it's almost like a river is by nature like just a bit more of a safer place.
Yeah,
it's a bit.
100%.
It's almost like a nursery compared to like
unless there's
the
crocodiles in there.
100%.
Yeah, but
while we're on the topic of sharks, my dad's got a story about tiger sharks when he was in Australia. He's got so many like diving stories. I'm sure more will come up in future, but this one like blows my mind. He was out with his friends just drinking, and they decided they were going to go swimming because they were like divers. My dad's gone like hundreds of dives and stuff, and they were all like, I don't know, just taking their shirts off, probably putting on wetsuits or whatever. This was at night time, so you couldn't see anything in the water, and they were like, oh, we'll just go for a little swim. And right as they're about to go in, they got stopped, and some guy was like, whoa. Don't go in there. That's like tiger sharks, like
tiger shark
literally
territory.
Tiger shark territory.
Yeah.
And like shone a light on it, and you could just see them all like swimming around. And they like almost certainly would have been killed if they like went in.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've done autopsies on like tiger sharks and bull sharks, and they found like things like car tires in there.
Yeah. They'll eat anything.
From where like rubbish has just
like the
gone
pigs
out to
of the sea.
Yeah, they will eat like anything. There's like all sorts, but that's why it's dangerous. One of the reasons it's so dangerous because obviously they also won't turn their nose up at like a body, like a human body. Whereas like with great white sharks, even though great white sharks, in my opinion,
them picky.
yeah, even though they're in my opinion the most terrifying to like look at, they're obviously the biggest predatory shark, all these things. But yeah, most cases of great white shark attacks are usually like misidentification. Like, they'll look up at like a surfer, the arms over the board. They'll think it's a really big seal and be like, "Oh, delicious."
Which makes sense if you think about the fact that they could have anything really. Like they're one of the most powerful like sea creatures around.
Apart from big whales, yeah.
If we don't taste as good, then why would they go for us? That makes sense. That they'd be a bit more picky, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, especially, I guess if you are like in like an area of the ocean where like seals are quite abundant as well, because obviously great whites, they will go to areas of the world where seals are abundant because they are such a favoured food source. So they do go to places like California and Australia and actually I'm not sure if are there seals in Australia. I'm not sure if there are actually.
I don't know.
But they go to.
Sure.
They definitely go to areas of the world anyway where there's lots of seals. I know there's lots of seals off California.
If great whites are there, then seals must be there, I reckon.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously they're not like the only thing. Obviously, like sometimes you see. Have you ever seen any of those crazy footages of like a whale that's like died of old age, and then there's just like a great white feeding frenzy, and there's like some like massive whale just like floating in the ocean, and there's just like 30 great whites around, just like tearing the whale to shreds. Thing is, as well, like if you're a shark, that's obviously such a sensible idea because there'll be so much energy in that. Or like the blubber. Think of like thick blubber. It's just pure calories. Yeah. Which is like,
do they ever attack whales, or is it?
They attack. The great white sharks attack dolphins.
Because like the killer whale and stuff are like the biggest predators in the sea.
Yeah, we've talked about. I know we've talked about it before. Oh yeah, man, they can.
So what I was going to ask, intelligence-wise, like compared to whales, how are sharks? Like, are they? They're not.
Nothing
they're not
really.
Not on the same level.
What they are more.
Because I was thinking with the human thing, would it be like? Because I know like the theory, like a theory is with the whales that they can almost sense our intelligence.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So they won't attack us and won't feel us because it's almost like peers.
Yeah, 100%.
But
I really
sharks,
believe that.
I didn't know whether that would have been a similar thing.
I think
they're very in tune with hunting and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the best way to think of a shark, it's almost like the same way you'd think of like something like a big cat, like a lion. Like a lion doesn't sit around like necessarily like, it's not necessarily that intelligent in terms of its thought processes, but in terms of its like like its senses.
Yeah, instinct.
It's so in tune with its senses. So in terms of like sense of like, sight, smell, speed, knowing when to attack and when not to, like stuff like that. It's like honed in. It's like it's like sharp as a freaking butcher's knife. But obviously, in terms of like what as a human you would consider intelligence, in terms of like basically almost like the ability to think. Like like whales and dolphins can clearly think. They like talk. They like communicate with each other. They have like complex family arrangements. They coordinate hunting. Like that in itself is like quite insane, almost like the same way you'd almost like think of like an elite like squadron in like an army or something. Yeah, you're like, right, I'm gonna take the flank, and you're gonna come around here. Like they that's how like almost like
and
they
also
hunt.
Play. Like dolphins and things. You look at them like that's such a part of their. I don't know. I suppose like lions and things
stuff
like they play a lot as well.
Yeah.
But I see that as a kind of sign of intelligence, like what they do with like the bubbles. Have you seen like the dolphins like chasing the bubbles in the water and stuff, and just kind of like just twirling them around and making them go around their tail and stuff like that? I think it's like really cool.
Have you watched the Blackfish documentary? On Netflix. That's all about like orcas in captivity, and they're clearly like depressed. But the most like crazy scene for me was when it's like dragging that guy down to the point where he's like about to drown, and then just lets him back up, and then as soon as he catches his breath, straight back down.
It's
like, was like toying with it.
That's like a very human thing to do almost. Like what was his name? Like Tillicum or something?
Something like that.
Wasn't it? Like the main whale that was like
it was something like that.
We're gonna listen to a song now anyway, but we'll be right back after this. If you are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio, cheers for chilling with us this evening, y'all. You guys like a little bit of a supernatural story, don't you? A little bit of a paranormal.
Love it.
Do you guys ever sort of like walk around your houses like whistling? Like, are you prone to a little whistle?
I can't whistle.
Can you not? No. I don't think Josh can either. Must be hereditary.
Yeah.
Do you ever like find yourself just like randomly late at night having a little whistle?
Sometimes, yeah.
Do you ever feel like anything weird happens when you do?
Not really, no.
No, I have to say I don't either. But did you know that there's like there's like an old superstition?
Is that why people say don't whistle in the house?
I'm not sure.
I know.
Probably.
I remember. It's a thing in Kazakhstan. It might just be that, but I remember like if I
probably is some old superstition.
Yeah, whistle
like
in the house. Like Cammy would be like, "Stop it."
I bet you this is linked to what I'm saying.
Ah.
I bet you this is linked to what I'm saying in some way, shape, or form. Not exactly the same, because obviously, quite a different culture. But I bet you it's in the same vein. So people used to think that if you whistle after midnight, that hellhounds will hear you, and they'll start coming towards you. So you're basically
honing device for hellhounds.
Yeah, so back in the day when people were more like religious and superstitious, like it was almost like a thing, like never whistle inside your house after 12 a.m. because at this time of the night, the dogs of hell and darkness hear the sound of the whistle, and then they will start making their way towards the whistling person. It's also said there are also some like tales, as I say, take this for what you will, but there are tales of people who whistle while showering early in the morning that are said to be able to see shadows in the corner of the room and spectres standing around the house early in the morning. So it's almost like something about whistling is like calling out to like things from beyond the void.
High frequencies of the whistle.
That's cool.
There's also an old tale and bit of superstition that says that if you turn off all the lights on your house and whistle for 30 seconds after midnight, eventually you will hear a snap, and then you'll feel hot air getting closer and closer to you. And apparently that's the dogs of hell smelling your aura.
That's cool. I'm glad I can't whistle now.
So everyone,
just in case,
if you're feeling ballsy, next time you're up past midnight, turn off all the lights, whistle for 30 seconds, see if you hear a little snap, and
See
if
if
you
you
can feel.
hear the hounds of hell.
See if you like you start getting a little bit like randomly hot, like there's some sort of invisible creature in your room from hell, making your loins boil. To be honest, if you put it like that, it doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah.
Do 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 do. J'adore. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah. How are you lads doing today? Anyway. All right. Yeah.
Pretty good, man.
You're liking
Not
your new
too bad.
liking your new Skrillex haircut?
Yeah, I actually am. It's the first time I've had a haircut in like probably about a month.
It's funny because I gave you like
I
a
shaved
little.
all my beard off, shaved my side of my head, and
Looking
I feel
fresh.
like a fresh man. That's what I like about getting an undercut though, because you grow your hair a bit long,
Yeah.
but when you get when you get your head shaved, it feels like you've got a brand new haircut.
Yeah, I know.
It feels like
just
you know
feel-
you
you
get
just-
that freshness of getting your hair cut, but you still get to keep your long hair.
Gives you
I'm
like
it's
a
cool.
spring in your step,
Yeah.
doesn't it? You're feeling a bit fresh.
I'm like, come here, feel my head. Come on, just give it a
No,
little.
no, I need
give it a
to
Little rub.
I need to shave my undercut. It's been 3 weeks now. I don't usually like to leave it more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I like a Sean
Like a
shave.
undercut.
I need to
Yeah.
have a haircut. My hair's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it long.
No.
Didn't like it.
Just
Have
I
you ever
reckon.
grown your hair like a bit longer?
It like just starts like curling, but not in a good way.
What
It
you
just-
mean?
it,
What
like,
you mean, like Josh?
It curls in on itself, so I'm almost like,
So
it's
you're like
it's not
someone
nice.
called-
My head just feels too hot.
Yeah.
I just feel stressed out. I hate having hair long. It
Mate,
stresses
you wait
me
until
out
you can
so
grow
much.
a beard.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man,
That's what it got like with my beard as well, though. It got like just a bit too long, and it was all like itchy
Yeah.
and stuff. And I was like, and I just shaved it off last night. I was like, number
Mate,
5.
you'll get past that stage though.
fresh start.
Yeah,
You'll
I
get past
know.
that.
I know. It was real frustrating me though, so I just had a shear.
Fair enough, man. Anyway, we're gonna listen to another track now. Stick around. We've got loads of stuff to talk about in the second hour.
Mexico is North America, my dude. No, it's not. Mexico's not North America, is it?
No, it's not. What? Who said that?
Castor Lorenzo.
Well, somebody said- somebody
said- Lorenzo.
Central America.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So you've got like North America, which is like US and Canada.
Yeah, it's in the continent of South America, though. Technically, isn't it?
No, it's like central. It's like
It's called Central America.
technically it's like Central America.
What? And that's a continent?
No. The whole continent is just America.
Nah.
You got
North America and South America are two different continents.
So you've got the Americas. You got North America, South America, and then Mexico is technically Central America.
Central
That's
America.
true. Yeah, that is correct. Because a lot of people think that it's South America, but it's actually technically called Central America.
South America starts in Ecuador.
Yeah. Oh, see, Drew knows that.
Look at that.
I like it when it comes to anything to do with like South America, just purely because it's where ayahuasca's from. Drew suddenly an expert. It's like,
I don't know. It's one of my favourite places, man.
Yeah.
I really want to go.
Yeah, it's just the people and everything. They're so, as they say in Spain.
What's the air like?
Fresh.
Lovely.
Oh, yeah, lovely. But
how they say in
so
Spain.
Funny. I remember when like I went to like visit like Carmen's dad and that, and stayed with him in Spain. And he was like, Carmen got like real stressed out with me, as she always does, and went off in like a stress. And like I was sitting down with some wine, and he looked at me and was like, Drew, I want to tell you something about Spanish women. They're crazy. You want a nice South American woman. They lovely.
I just love the fact that it sounds pretty much exactly like lovely.
Yeah.
Labily. They labily.
Yeah,
well, and that just means like nice.
Lovely.
It literally just
so
means
he
lovely.
did mean lovely, but it just sounded like lovely.
Labily.
It's just for effect, but yeah, he's saying lovely. Yeah.
That's the thing, though. I think, as you know, as he was saying, like all the Spanish women and stuff, they're so like hot-tempered, aren't they?
Todo.
Yeah, they're just.
But yeah, but South American, they've got this real sweet energy about them. They're like more just like, do you know what I mean? Like,
chill.
Yeah, just chill. But and I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense when I saw it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Americans always like rag on our food, but I swear we've got well good food, man. I swear they just don't try it.
Oh, I had such a hearty pie last night. It was so good.
I don't like pie.
You don't like pie?
Mate, how can
Get
you
out
like
of my
pie?
kitchen. Get out of my house.
What?
Pie is like one of the best things in the world.
What about like fucking snazzy as fuck pies, like beef Wellingtons and that?
But I'd try it. Don't get me wrong. I used to be like so.
Sausage
I used to be like so
fussy,
picky. Yeah. But now I open my doors a lot more now.
I've opened my palate.
Yes. I've opened up my palate and my mind.
But yeah,
man,
like
you
gravy.
Need to smash
Gravy's fucking missed.
Oh, what?
Never
Get
had gravy.
right.
You don't like gravy?
Fucking hell.
Do you not have roast dinners?
Yeah, I do. I just don't have the gravy.
Something wrong with him. Something wrong with him. What, you have a dry roast?
Yeah.
You must be chewing forever.
No,
you like put like tomato ketchup with your dry roast or something?
It's quite like, that's why I get like the chicken normally, or like
Do you
turkey.
have any sauce with it?
Apple sauce if it's pork. You can see why I don't like beef.
Are you an alien?
You can see why I don't like beef. It's just like roast beef, but just like dry. That's the one that is dry. Like turkey and pork are a bit
Mate, I
moist
couldn't
anyway.
have a dry roast. Could you? I couldn't have
I
a
made
dry roast.
such a good gravy the other day as well.
Mate.
So I slow roasted the top side of
use all the meat juice in that?
Yeah, so I slow roasted or like slow cooked that top side of beef joint, but with loads of shallots on the bottom. So just like a ton of shallots on the bottom with some carrots as well, and just slow roasted that and some water.
Delicious,
so it was just loads of liquid in there, and then I blended that.
Beefy
yeah,
juice.
so I blended that juice up and then added like gravy to it. So it was like the thickest, most crazy, juicy beef gravy ever, and it was so good, man. It was like just so much flavour.
Mate, that sounds fucking amazing.
And how can you not like that?
The thing is,
I had gravy for like the first time in like forever on Josh's birthday, because there was no option. I didn't want to be like picky enough to be like, don't put gravy on my plate. So I had it, and it was alright. It was better than I was thinking it would be.
It's just
full
of amazing flavour. It's like a liquid that's full of amazing flavour. That's just like.
I think it's just a thing. Like,
tasty.
as a kid, that I was just like, always that's fucking grim, and then now it's almost like translated a bit over. Especially the worst is stew. I could never touch a stew.
I love stew.
I love a good stew.
You just don't like wet food?
No, not really.
Yeah, because you don't like hot drinks either, do you?
No, I don't like soup either. I wouldn't eat soup. I think it's something when food doesn't know if it's like liquid or food. Like if it's a drink,
but it's almost like I see it as like efficient because it's like liquid and.
That's
food.
why it was so good having that ramen the other day. That was insane.
And I'll tell you what, it's something real nice as well, because they say it's really. That's one of the reasons why it's good for you if you like got a cold or something. Like if you've got like a nice steamy stew and it's like the steam's almost like going in your sinuses and sorting out your sinuses, so it's like awesome for winter when you get all bunged up in that. And then, mate, I've made some banging stews, dude. Mate, me and them made some banging stews, man. And also, the good thing about stew as well, you can make it so nutritious. You can chuck in
nutritious and delicious.
You can chuck in like 5 or 6 different vegetables. You know, like bless you, dude. different types of seasoning and stuff like that to make it taste. Some garlic granules, salt, some pepper, whatever you want, really.
Damn straight.
You'll never guess what young Bullwinkle, aka Flambard, was just saying. He has his roast dinners without gravy.
And I stand by it.
Man, that's crazy. Me and Skrillex.
Don't be proud of standing by that, man.
I'm not.
Me and Skrillex are honestly just bewildered. Honestly, just like
more than bewildered.
Hey. The thing is, I think I'm so used to like the idea of like how wet and delicious like a roast is. Do you know what I mean? Like the mixture with that gravy with all the different.
It joins everything together, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the idea of having it without it now just seems like so dry.
Yeah,
I almost imagine just being like. Just chewing forever and it almost just doesn't seem right.
It ain't that bad. There's moisture in the food.
You've obviously got used to it. But I reckon to me it would seem super dry. Because it's just like what you're used to.
It would seem sacrilege, actually.
Yeah, I think that as well. Like
I hate seeing like other people's plates and they're having a roast there and it's all like mushed together. It's like mush. Oh, that looks
see,
awful.
I love that.
Yeah,
me and my granddad have always been like that.
Me too.
So he would always like mix up his food and eat it, and I do that. If I get a big
Me
plate
too,
of food, I mix things around, get it all together. I think that's why I love wraps so much because
it's just
in a wrap, everything
me
is just in and you can just efficiently get it all in one bite.
We're definitely like twins in that regard, man. Like literally, I'm exactly the same. I live off wraps. I literally had a wrap last night. Like just bung everything in a wrap, wrap it up, it's there.
And more a burrito, even if it is more moist. It's just like mix it all together.
I think wraps are my favourite food, but they're not mushy.
They are if they're like a burrito sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
If you have like...
Yeah.
It depends obviously what you put in it, but yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm not seeing it, you know? When I'm eating a burrito, I'm not seeing all the like stuff
Don't eat
mushed
with your
on the
eyes,
plate.
man. Eat with your belly.
Eat with your... eat with your...
Eat with your mouth and your belly and your heart.
Eat with your balls. Eat with your balls. Deep guttural feelings, man. You know? But I remember like, a couple of people have thought it's weird before, like when I've had curries with people, because I'll like... Say I'll have like 3 or 4 different dishes or whatever, and I almost like mix it all up. So it's like everything's entwined. And a couple of people have said to me like, "Oh, like
that's a bit weird."
Because what they've said to me is like, you know, it's almost like if every dish has like a different flavour, then you're almost like taking that away. But I see it as different. I see it as I'm just blending all the flavours to make a new and really nice flavour. Do you know what I mean? Like I've almost like
a new superior flavour.
Yeah, say I bought like some lemon rice and like a king prawn balti and then like a sag bhaji or whatever, then it's like mix that all up and then all those flavours complement each other. If there's like a little bit leftover sauce from like the poppadoms or whatever, put a bit of mint sauce in there as well, maybe a bit of mango chutney. And then what you're left with is just like this delicious concoction.
Yeah.
And it's almost just like, we're talking a little bit about stews, weren't we? Songs. You've almost got like this cool Indian stew or something mixed in with all the bolty sauce and the mint sauce and everything. Oh, mate, delicious. Like
I'm so hungry now.
Mate, yeah, me too. Me too. What else were we talking? Oh yeah, because you were making me hungry
Definitely
when we were
a fan.
when we listened to those last tracks. You were making me hungry, man, because you were talking about
how I did my gravy with it.
Yeah. Slow cooking that roast beef.
So on a bed of shallots and
carrots,
and then just blending all of that up to
just a bit of water.
So
it stays nice and moist, and so the meat gets real tender as we're cooking it. And then obviously, all that beef juice like spills into that water. The shallot juice, the carrot juice spills into water, and what you're left with is like a natural gravy.
Yeah.
Thicken it up a little bit, like as you said you did, with some actual gravy granules, and then you've just got this delicious and nutrient rich as well, because all the nutrients from that like beef juice and the carrots and the shallots is like that's blending into that water.
And where you're not cooking it on such a high heat as well, it's like it's like keeping all the nutrients in as well, like not just like burning the hell out of them, you know.
What I usually try and do as well, like, you know, if there's any like boiled vegetables, I'll like mix in the water from the boiled vegetables and then with the meat juice, and then it's like you're getting almost like, say you've got like you've essentially got like really nutrient rich like broccoli water mixed with like the natural juices from like say whatever meat you've cooked, and then you mix that all up. I
made the mistake once though where I boiled up some cabbage and then I thought, this will be a real healthy drink if I just keep the cabbage water and then just like the next day just have it as like a drink.
That'd be like farts.
May I took it into the office and I undid the lid and everyone was just like, what the hell is that smell? And it just smelled like poop.
Really? Not even like farts?
It was like a horrible cabbage fart, yeah.
Oh, man. I have to say, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I always think even like broccoli is like one of those things, it's like if it's even like slightly gone off or something, or if you like leave it in a container too long and then you open it, like broccoli on its own, like normally it's okay. Like a fresh broccoli, it doesn't even really have much of a smell.
Yeah.
Unless you like literally put it right up to your nose. But it's like, Yeah, if you like
As soon
leave
as
it too
goes a bit
long,
feisty.
man, it suddenly just smells like farts.
Yeah.
It's just not good, is it? And let's face it, you don't want to put anything in your mouth that smells like farts. Do you?
No.
You know, not particularly. Not unless you're like a weirdo anyway. You know, one of you weirdos out there that's like, I want
farts in my mouth.
Terrible.
So what would you say is like your favourite food, Bullwinkle? I mean,
He
flambard.
said, didn't he?
Oh, chicken and chips.
No, wraps.
No.
Oh,
wraps.
Oh, you reckon they're literally your favourite?
Probably, but
You love
but
KFC, don't you?
If I was gonna,
You should be sponsored by KFC. If KFC are listening,
I don't have
hit 'em
KFC
up.
that often.
Yeah.
But I do love a steak. Like a steak is probably my favourite food.
I love steak.
If I was gonna go for like, if
What
I had to
what
choose a
sort of
last meal,
steak?
it would be steak.
What sort of steak?
Man, whatever. If it's cooked right, then you can make any steak
Mate, you
good.
need to decide, dude. You need to make a decision.
Sirloin.
A sirloin? Fair enough. I mean, what about you, man? What would you say is like your favourite food?
I can't, man.
I
literally can't. It's just.
I don't think I can either.
No.
Depends on the day.
Yeah, and like, I don't know.
There are certain things that
I reckon food is one of the most amazing reasons to be alive.
Oh, 100%.
It's one of the most.
Food and love, baby. Food and love.
Just the texture, everything about it is just
food,
like
loving,
so
music.
good about being human. And the fact that we can eat so many different foods.
Yeah.
What are we called? What are we? What's the omnivorous or what?
Yeah, we're omnivorous.
Omnivorous,
yeah.
So like we can just eat anything.
Yeah, that's
just,
a good. That's a good thing about being an omnivore, isn't it? You know, we can just chuck together so much cool stuff. Like if you are say just like a big cat, then it's literally like you're only ever eating just purely meat. If you are like a herbivore, you're only eating like grass and plants and stuff, which sounds so boring.
If you're omnivorous, you're just mixing it all up, and getting
us,
the flavors.
Us bears, dogs, we're living the good life, man.
Yeah,
us and as I said, the other, some of the other apes
getting
and
those
the
flavors.
Yeah, man.
I had a dream about heaven last night. This just reminded me of it because I had a dream that I was in heaven, and it was like this like resort, but they had this room that you could go in, and you could like replay any memory of any taste you'd have, like you'd had during your living life.
What, just strictly food?
So because obviously food is like such a nice thing. You know when you have a good meal and you're like,
yeah, man. You're almost like overwhelmed by the flavours.
You could go in this place and like just
so
replay
good.
all your memories of eating each individual food, and you could like taste it. Imagine that.
Man, that's
that is heaven.
I love it. Like there's a really good Turkish place down the road, isn't there, called the Green Olive? Shout out Green Olive in Bridgewater. But like the mixed grill and stuff in there. All like really nice vegetable rice and these delicious different like grilled like meats, and then get some white bait on the side. All this nice bread. Oh man,
so good. I remember just starting to like cook with like fresh ingredients as well, like stir fries, but with like juicy stuff like lemon and like soy sauce and like fresh garlic, fresh ginger, loads of it, like great, like thinged up. That just like gives it this fresh like kind of flavor rather than just loads of spices, you know what I mean?
100%,
that's banging as well. Like a bit of that.
Yeah. Oh man, I love food so much. I think I might have steak tonight.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you ever had like tomahawk steak?
Oh yeah, boy.
I've never had it.
Oh boy, yeah.
Is that like the best one?
It's amazing. Yeah, I went to this amazing steakhouse in London called Goodman's Steakhouse. And talk about like premium high quality steaks, and like everything there's like grass fed and everything. And I had a tomahawk in there, and it was delicious. Like it like melted in your mouth. Like so good, man. So good.
God damn it, we need to go and get some steak.
Oh yeah.
I've got like a cool little actually interesting fact that will probably anger some vegans. It's definitely not meant to anger some vegans, but it probably will a little bit. Did you know that technically there are like no purely herbivorous creatures? So even all herbivores occasionally, if they get the chance, will actually eat meat, because basically meat is so much more nutrient dense than vegetation that most plant-eating animals are very, very stupid, because all they need to do to survive is basically be food processing plants. They need to almost spend their entire lives eating and dedicating their lives to eating, because they need to take in so much vegetation just to fuel their bodies and to keep themselves going. Whereas obviously meat-eating animals, because there's a lot more calories and a lot more nutrients in the meat and stuff, they can afford, like, they'll have like a big meal, and then some carnivores won't eat for days. They'll have like have a big meal, whether it's like a hunted or scavenged meal, and they won't eat for days.
A meal fit for a king.
But they can afford to because it's so dense. Whereas like if you think about any grazing animal, whether it's like a cow, like antelope in Africa, whatever, they have to spend their whole entire lives just.
Isn't that why like cows have like 4 stomachs and that as well? Because it's like to process it.
Yeah.
So like it takes so long to like break down.
Yeah. So by the time it's almost like gone through the 4th stomach, then it's like
ready to
absorb all it's a good quality almost like by that point. But it's a hard process. I said the easiest way to think of all those big herbivores are like food processing plants. It was the same way with like the sauropod dinosaurs as well. Their entire lives, in a way, it almost makes me feel a bit like sad for them because it's not like it almost seems like a bit of like a waste of a life. They had to dedicate almost like every moment of every waking hour to like just eating because their food sources are so low in nutrients that like they have to. Otherwise, they wouldn't live.
But you said that these animals do like from time to time.
So you can get up clips, right? You'll be able to find this, and anyone can find this online. Literally, you can find little clips of like deer eating like dead rabbit. You can see things of like herbivorous, technically herbivorous turtles, like coming across like meat, like a dead animal and eating it. And the reason they do it, obviously, they're not like bloodthirsty, but animals in general are quite like
opportunistic.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I tried the word I was looking for. So if they come across a situation where they can get in a lot of energy in a short amount of time, well, that's
gonna take that.
That's purely beneficial for them, isn't it? If you're like, oh, am I going to grind up grass for 4 hours tonight, or am I just going to? There's this thing here, and it's got as much like nutrients in like a morsel of meat as it does in like like a kilo of grass or whatever. Then they're going to take it in.
What about like giraffes?
I'm not sure, but I just know that there's a lot of examples, and I said you can watch videos, you can see photographs. And there's a lot of examples of animals that you would normally think of as strictly herbivorous, and I know I've seen pictures of like deers and turtles and stuff like that, and they are eating meat. And as I said, it's like they're obviously not hunting them and killing them, but if they come across like a dead animal or something, then they will eat some of the meat.
What do you reckon that is? Having a look at the photo that I've got up on my screen now.
It's
a panda.
Oh yeah,
with some kind of.
It's like a crocodile.
Is that a crocodile?
I don't know. It's hard to see from the
I'm going to have to come and have a look.
I reckon you could have it there. That might be a croc. A crocker.
A panda and a croc.
That was terrifying. Look at that, man. What is that? It says, what happens if a herbivore eats meat or a carnivore eats vegetables?
Is that? I swear that's not like.
Looks like fur, that's what I thought, but I could see that being like a bit of an end of a tail or something.
I don't reckon that's a croc. I don't know. But like for example, there you can see the deer eating rabbit. Yeah. I mean, as I said, there's some other. There's quite
kangaroo
a lot.
here as well.
A kangaroo in a bird.
For all our radio listeners, just get up YouTube now and
I apologise.
This part of the show must be
for the audio listeners.
So we're basically what we're doing is we're looking up on Google. We've just young Flambard over here has typed in examples of looking at herbivorous animals eating meat. So there's pictures of kangaroos eating a dead bird. There's a giraffe eating meat.
Looks like an antelope.
There's deer eating meat. The thing is, obviously, I think it's that most people know that. So take something like a hippo, for example. A hippo technically is herbivorous, but I think people know that sometimes hippos, being very ill-tempered, will just randomly sometimes eat animals. You know? They're so angry, they'll almost like just randomly in Africa, if something comes in its way, it will just snap it in half. Oh, look, there's a picture of a squirrel eating a dead bird. Yeah, so...
crazy stuff.
I just thought that was an interesting fact.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Interessante.
I remember I heard that like a while back, and I just thought it was really interesting, because I didn't actually know that was the case. Because obviously herbivorous animals have evolved to get as much bang out for your buck as you can, possibly, out of low nutrient food. Because let's face it, man, things like grass and stuff and a lot of other plants, they're not high in nutrients. Some plants are very high in nutrients, especially things like fruit, berries and stuff. You can get like a lot of energy, obviously, from eating like things like bananas.
A pomegranate.
yeah.
Super food.
I like that was the one that just like came into your head. So
like a pomegranate.
Yeah.
Berries, bananas. Bananas actually are technically a berry. Interesting fact for you.
Berry. It's just got like a little seed at the bottom.
I can't remember exactly why. I just remember hearing that it's one of those things like that. Bananas are technically berries.
When
Banana
they're not,
berries.
obviously we've changed bananas, but they used to like have seeds all the way through them, didn't they?
Yeah, they used to have little black seeds.
Yeah.
But I do know that bananas as we have them nowadays are man-made. So where that obviously like everything has to be in some way. I'm not sure if fertilized is the right word, but you know what I mean. So like say with like a lot of flowers, like bees will carry pollen and they'll drop it and blah blah blah. So with bananas, that whole process is like with the bananas that most of us buy in the supermarket nowadays, they cannot breed on their own essentially.
Isn't that like was it a broccoli that's man-made as well?
We talked about that, haven't we? So like you won't find a broccoli anywhere in nature. We've man-made that out of like I said, I'm pretty damn sure originally it was like a type of cabbage and then we've like manufactured
and
it
a cauliflower.
Yeah, something like that, wasn't it? Something like that. There's a lot of interesting things like that. Another thing I found out was like mental recently. It's almost like a hard thing to explain, but I think everyone will sort of get it. Because at first I was a bit like, okay. I was like trying to wrap my head around it. Did you know that there isn't really any such thing as trees?
What?
Yeah, I know. And this is almost
there
like
isn't really any such thing as trees.
Ow.
Well, right. So
he says as he looks over at a tree.
Yeah, and this
out of the window.
This is why it's almost like a silly thing because like obviously I say that as a blanket statement, and you're like, "What are you on about, mate?" There's trees.
You mean
everywhere.
Technically they're classed as flowers or something or plants?
Well, yes, it's similar along those lines. So usually when you think of like a classification, so like trees are almost like a classification. So like if you want to think of like say like great apes. Great apes are like a classification
under a genus,
and that's like a very clear. It's a very like clear
distinction.
Of what makes you a great ape. So like the great apes are like human beings, orangutans, chimpanzees, and gorillas. And there's like 4 great apes, and we're all very very similar in our evolutionary line. We've got common ancestors, things like that, and that's what makes us a great ape. And if you want to take even like a broader spectrum, you've got like mammals in general. We all come originally from like a common ancestor. And we're all, whether you're like a cat or a dog or a bear or a human or a whale, if you go back far enough, we've got like a common ancestor.
The water vole.
The common ancestor, which as Skrillex always points out, is clearly the water vole. the water vole of the dinosaur era. I think it's called Convergent evolution. This is, with the trees. So, trees. So the idea being is that the reason why trees aren't actually technically a thing is because they are an example of convergent evolution. And what that means is that trees don't have a common ancestor. So, for example, like a palm tree has more in common with a blade of grass than it does with any other type of tree. And apparently like what tree was it? Like a horse chestnut. What was it? It was like a horse chestnut tree has more in common with a certain type of flower than it does with other types of chestnut tree.
That's mental.
Yeah, and that's because at first when I heard it I was like, okay, I was like trying to wrap my head around it when I heard it, and then I looked into it more and more, and I got my head around it in the end. So it does make sense, but it's like it's still one of those things that you hear it as a blanket statement and you're a bit like, okay.
I think if a plant gets its stem becomes dense enough and it goes woody, that's for me when it's a tree. You just start calling it a tree. yeah. And obviously you're right in that respect. So I'm not saying obviously like trees don't exist. But what I'm saying is like if you look at the technical aspect of it,
yes.
you go into the molecular biology of that.
As I said, like a great ape,
form.
like you have to hit a certain criteria to be a great ape, and you'd almost think about that with a tree. But as I said, like a palm tree has, you look at it and you're like, well, that's a tree. I know it looks different than like an oak tree, but they're still clearly trees.
Hey, we're all carbon, man.
But yeah. But a palm tree has more in common with grass than it does with like an oak tree, you know? So it's almost like they're types of plants that go a certain way, and when they start looking a certain way, as human beings, because we like our minds like to classify things for just simplicity.
Yeah, for me, it's the wood part of it, you know?
Yeah.
If it starts producing this hard, like stem.
If a lumberjack could cut it, could get you some kindling
carve a
and
spoon
some
out of it.
then it's a tree, mate. It's a tree, mate. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did think that was like an interesting fact anyway. Because it's almost like with most things, it's like they have a common ancestor.
Yeah, that is really...
I'm pretty sure it's called Convergent Evolution. Could you type in that?
I've got it up.
Yeah? So what's it? Can you look up the definition? Type in Convergent...
An evolutionary process in...
Type in Convergent Evolution definition.
In evolutionary... Oh my god. In evolutionary biology, convergent evolution is defined as the process... whereby distantly related organisms independently evolve similar traits to adapt to similar necessities. Man,
yeah, so that's...
I can't read.
So this is what it means. So if you want to like go back far enough, I guess like all plants originate from the same thing. But all of these trees have... So it'd almost be like, imagine if we found another type of human being, right? And they were almost like...
very different.
Almost like exactly like us, but they had evolved from a completely different type of like archaic ape,
like a lion person or something.
Well, not anything. Or like but like they were like similar to a human, but they'd evolved from their own thing. That would be an example of convergent evolution. So it's not like with every type of human on the planet, whether you're an African, an Asian, a European.
We got that common ancestor.
Yeah, that's not convergent evolution. That's more traditional evolution.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a really cool fact, though. The world's such a fascinating place. Did you know that during the Devonian period, I think we talked a bit about the Devonian period recently because we were talking about how it was sort of like the early Devonian was almost like the era of fish, like when like fish became like the most dominant creatures on the planet, and it was quite interesting at the time. The most dominant types of fish were called Placoderms. Can you type in Placoderm? Placoderm definition. So they were like armoured fish, essentially. They were like really armoured, and they were terrifying, man.
Oh,
some of these
things.
Some of these things grew to 10 meters long. Sorry if there's any American listeners. I'm trying to think what 10 meters long is. About 2 meters is about 6'5", I think. So what's that? Times that by 5. Times 6'5" by 5. So it's like over 30 feet. Over 30. What about
35
about
feet.
35, 34 feet? Yeah. So it's about 35 feet long, giant armor-plated, terrifying fish. Would have made a great white shark look like a cuddly teddy bear. But at the time, during the early Devonian, there were no plants on the planet other than moss. Plants just hadn't evolved yet. You could, so like say you went back in a time machine and your time machine broke in the early Devonian period and you had to survive.
You'd be eating a lot of moss.
Think, you wouldn't have any wood to make fires. You wouldn't have any plants to farm or to like eat for sustenance.
I wonder what the actual atmosphere would have been like then as well.
You'd have been able to survive, but apparently it would have been quite warm. So in that regard, it would have been a benefit because there weren't... At the time, there were no land animals. Land animals hadn't evolved in the early Devonian. There were nothing on land. So,
surely there wouldn't have been much oxygen in the air.
I think there was enough oxygen that you would have been able to survive.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But obviously, there wouldn't have been anything to eat you, which is a bonus, but there also would have been nothing to hunt on land, so that's obviously not to your benefit. And also obviously, early hunter-gatherers and stuff, they would make their clothes and stuff out of like hides. So you essentially would be naked. I just thought this was
naked and covered in moss.
Yeah. So you could essentially, I guess, like you could maybe try and like make some weird sort of moss garment. But I think it's funny. The more you think about into it, like think without trees, without plants, without land animals, like how would you even like stitch them together? Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like
Let's not go there.
I know. I know. In like Maori culture, they sometimes use like certain like reed like plants as almost like string.
Yeah.
To like tie stuff together. But like you wouldn't be able to do that.
No.
So I guess you just almost have to like try and sort of like wear it like a cape, this weird moss cape, and you look like some crazy naked wizard or something. But then that's like the only way you'd be able to survive is almost like I guess if you caught fish, but then it's like you wouldn't be able to really make a fishing rod because you wouldn't have any wood or anything like that. So you'd have to almost just like, I guess, like stand in a shallow pool and just like throw rocks at them.
Tickle their belly like trout.
But then you'd have to make sure it was in proper shallow water because there were so many dangerous fish during the Devonian. As I said, all these Placoderms and there were sharks evolved during the Devonian. It'd have been scary, man.
Yeah.
But it would have been like a weird place.
Yeah.
I love thinking about like time traveling and stuff,
Yeah.
and literally like just seeing what that would have looked like at that time. Like we've said about the dinosaurs and everything as well. Like seeing the world with not one building on it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like
whoa,
stuff like that would be like crazy.
Imagine seeing the night sky.
Yeah. How that would have looked. That would have been or when plants did start developing and it was just animals and not humans, or like just some kind of like like the night sky then, and just where it's all this vegetation and beauty still.
I know that by the end of the Devonian there were. So the first tree ever evolved during the Devonian. Can you type up what that is? So type up like first ever tree.
So you can get a picture of the first ever tree.
Well, there will be like a recreation. of it.
Yeah.
There will be, because there obviously are like
Fossils
really good examples of like fossilized trees from
That's
the Devonian.
Mental.
Can you see what it's called?
The earliest trees were tree ferns, horsetails, and lysophytes.
That looks like a little person.
Yeah,
Little tree person.
So
what was it called? Can you see? I want to
back to the Middle Devonian. It doesn't.
About 385
The first tree
million
may
years.
have been Wootasia.
Oh, okay.
Fossils of which have been found in the New York State in 2007.
Oh, cool. So that was Middle Devonian, the first ever tree. But like, that's so cool because there would have been a time where there was just one type of tree on the planet. That's almost like a cool thing. Imagine like almost like the first ever forest ever on Earth, and it was just filled with just one tree. That would have been a bit better by that point, because then you could make firewood and you could make a tree house. So you'd be like a bit
bows and arrows.
Yeah. Yes, that's so cool though, isn't
That was
it?
about 385 million years ago.
Yeah, that's great. That's crazy.
I love fossilized wood. It looks so cool.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it.
I can't remember what the name of it is, but it almost looks like stone or something, but it's like fossilized.
It sort of is, but it's mineralized.
Yeah,
it's
mineralized.
Yeah.
And like there was this guitar that was made out of like fossilized wood that had gone like stone.
That must have been so heavy.
So cool. Yeah.
Was it like super heavy?
I didn't play it, but I saw it and I was just like, that looks epic. So I don't know how heavy it was.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
What was it? Was it like electric or acoustic?
Electric. Electric, kind of just a body.
That would make more sense. For some reason, I was imagining this like big, heavy acoustic with like still like a sound box.
Yeah.
But that would be probably a bit too complicated.
Yeah.
Probably sound a bit brittle as well.
Like, this guy made it and I was like, but it was like a lot of money.
I expect it was almost like a coating rather than like...
No, it was
solid body.
Bit of,
like a solid body.
What's it called?
Petrified wood.
Petrified wood,
I've got it up on the screen now.
Yeah, there we go. Look, that's the one.
Is petrified wood the same as... I don't think is petrified wood the same as fossilized wood? I don't think it is it? I think petrified wood is just like wood that's maybe it's like started to fossilize, but I think it's like I think it's almost like in between. Can you type up like? Would you be able to look up flambard? The definition of petrified wood. Like what makes wood petrified wood? Because in my head it almost is like you've got like wood, petrified wood, fossilized wood.
Right,
by the time it's fossilized, it's like cut. It's like mineralized, so it's like stone. But I think petrified wood is still actually sort of like wood, because I remember hearing about some frickin' I think it was Neil Peart from Rush, rest in peace, about he had his like frickin' drums made out of this petrified wood from like a 1,000-year-old oak tree that was like dredged from a lake in like Lithuania or something, and he had it like transported. This is how you know you got money. He had the whole tree transported to the United States, and then this like legendary drum maker custom made him this amazing drum kit out of petrified, like this like 1,000-year-old oak wood.
Petrified wood comes from the Greek root petro, which means rock or stone.
So it is
with
like
the literal meaning wood turned to stone. It's literally just a special type of fossilized wood.
Oh, sick! So it actually is mineralized then. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did remember seeing it said fossilized at the time, but it's just crazy, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
just super old wood. That's
that's
it looks
awesome,
sick
dude.
though as well. It looks like awesome.
Yeah,
like marbled.
Yeah, like real beautiful patterns and everything like that. So cool, man. And we're listening to a track now. We're back after this. This is Stone the Crow by Down. You are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. I am your host as always, Obadiah Penny Whistle. To the left of me we have Flambard. To the right of me we have the legendary What sort of music does he do? Is it like drum and bass? Is it drum and bass?
Like crazy dubstep.
Dubstep artist himself.
Drop the bass.
We have Skrillex. All right. Yeah, here he is. He's making one of his tracks right on the spot here. We have Skrillex. And it is time to talk about the vampires of the jellyfish world. The Immortal Jellyfish.
You'll love this, man.
Nice.
You'll love this.
Take it away.
Shout out.
Take it away.
First off, shout out to your grand past used rubber on TikTok. We salute you, friend of the pod.
We salute you.
You've given
Friend
us
of the
something
pod.
to talk about.
Friend of the pod.
So thank you. We love you. Right. Jellyfish are immortal, or this one in particular one
Are
is.
all jellyfish immortal?
No, just this one in particular one.
The rest of them like live for like a day.
Yeah,
No,
probably.
just-
Yeah.
Just being
So,
over the top.
the immortal jellyfish, known scientifically as Turritopsis dawni, is now officially known as the only immortal creature. The secret The secret to eternal life, as it turns out, is not just living a really, really long time. It's all about maturity, or rather, the lack of it. This immortal jellyfish, as it's known more popularly, propagate, and then faced with the normal career path of dying, they opt to instead revert to a sexually immature age. It turns out that once the adult form of the 4.5 millimeter wide species have reproduced, they don't die but transform themselves back into a juvenile polyp state.
Do you know what I just suddenly had this amazing thought of?
Go
Imagine if when my daughter was born, I just suddenly just walked in and I was just like a little chubby 11-year-old with a little quiff, and I was just like, all right, guys. And then I just tried to F5 you. But I was like, you could have just F5 me and get your own back, because I'd be like way smaller than you.
Prepubescent state.
Yeah, I'd probably still be like a little heavy bugger,
Yeah.
so I'd probably be hard to pick up. But like, you could have just got your own back.
Taking tips from the jellyfish.
Yeah.
So, does immortal jellyfish turning into a baby again? Simply explained, yes, it does. Here is what actually happens. Their tentacles retract, their bodies shrink, and they sink to the ocean floor and start the cycle all over again. Among laboratory samples, all the adult Turritopsis observed regularly undergo this change, and not just once, they can do it over and over again.
So, do they think that there might be immortal jellyfish that have been alive for like 1,000 years?
I reckon so.
Is there any way
tell
of
the
scientists finding out the actual age of them, or is it like impossible because when they regenerate, is it like they essentially like on a
that could be the case.
on a like a molecular level?
Yeah.
Are they like literally like an infant again on every level?
Yeah.
That would be quite interesting to
They
find
haven't
out.
got like an extra
Like a ring, like you know, like rings in the tree. Yeah. But a lot of things are like that, aren't there? There's like an equivalent to that. You know, there is some sort of equivalent to that. Like there's no way of finding out the age. That's quite interesting. Like obviously we've talked a bit of like Greenland sharks on Pandora's box before, how like some of them are like over 400 years old. But there's like ways
that you can tell. You
can get a tissue sample, you can find out. You know, as we said with trees, you can find out.
It was only discovered in 1988, so I don't know if maybe they've got more tests to do on it, that kind of stuff. But they think it's probably the like the oldest animal on the planet. But here's like a little graph of like what it goes through. So,
are you showing this?
Yeah.
So everyone on YouTube,
on the screen.
So everybody on YouTube can see this. There's a little graph that Flambard has got up.
So it basically just kind of goes back to the floor and then almost like goes into like a plant type of thing.
Yeah, it looks like a plant. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then just starts like floating about.
Yeah, so for people that are only listening, so this graph they've got up, it basically shows the repeating life cycle of an immortal jellyfish. So it's sort of showing it mature and then fall to the seabed and then sort of going into this.
So when it's a polyp, it's attached to the ocean bed.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it looks like a little plant.
Well, that's what sort of like you know, you can get like polyps. Can't you? It means something is attached.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
So that's weird. It almost becomes like a weird little, like goes into like a weird little like cocoon on the earth.
It looks like a little plant. So it's like
essentially it's like mitosis, isn't it? Just splits its cell, but
mitosis
instead of splitting a cell,
now you know your genes.
Yeah. That was a flashback, wasn't it? God, that was a blast from the past.
From being like 12.
Biology in like year 10 or whatever. Yeah.
How cool is that though?
That is very, very cool. That is very cool. I can't remember. That made me think of something when you first started going on about the immortal jellyfish. It sprung something in my brain from something that I'd heard, and now I'm struggling to think of what it was.
Just the lobsters for me.
Yeah, there's obviously with the lobsters. So like, did you know about that?
What do lobsters do?
So
the lobsters are
lobsters
like,
don't technically
as well.
Yeah, they don't technically die of old age, but you know that they have exoskeletons and they shed their exoskeletons every couple of years, a bit like snakes. You know, I think, and spiders do that as well.
Yeah.
So they get larger and larger and larger, and every time they sort of like get too big for their shell, they sort of break out of their shell, and then they're bigger again.
Yeah.
They leave behind the shell.
You gotta break out of your shell.
yeah. That must be like where I've never really thought about it. But that's obviously the saying, isn't it? Yeah. Like start a new, even better,
bigger and better.
Yeah. But yeah, what happens is they get to a certain size where their exoskeleton is so like strong and thick that they physically can't break out of it.
To break out of
so they essentially get crushed to death by their own
shell.
the strength of their own shell. But if it wasn't for that, they could theoretically just live forever, and eventually they would just be like giant lobsters.
That's brutal.
That is brutal.
What a way to go.
I know, and the fact that almost like every lobster that isn't like fried in a pan.
Yeah.
That's like the idea that like
I've never tried lobster. I'd love to though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, the fact that like everyone that reaches old age dies like that is savage. I can't imagine that feels very nice.
No, like crushed by your own skin.
Yeah. Savage, man.
Yeah.
I was crushed by my own exoskeleton.
You know when you like fill up a balloon too much and then it's like on the verge of popping, but it's not quite popped yet. That must be how they feel.
But
But
on
then,
the verge of popping.
Yeah, but then they sort of like pop on the inside, but then not on the outside. So it's like, do you know what I mean? Oh, that's savage, isn't
or
it?
like suffocated, like constricted.
But because of the fact that obviously with it, I think with every lobster it sort of like varies slightly, like when they can't break out of that shell anymore. Yeah, because I guess all you need to do is like if you make that first initial crack, I guess then it's almost like then it can give. But that some like marine biologists and that theorize that there could theoretically be on the seabed somewhere like giant lobsters.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean
parts of the sea that we haven't been to or kind of
because only 5% of the sea is mapped.
Yeah, 5%.
That's mad, isn't it?
It is madness.
That's mental.
We've mapped the moon and Mars better than we have our own sea.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I said the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest.
It's weird
part.
with the lobster thing. Like normally, say like normally when someone sheds, rather than like breaking out of it, it will literally shed it, but it's like almost like fall off when it's ready to fall off. It's weird that it doesn't do that. And also, when you think of like a plant in a plant pot, it's like it grows. Its roots grow to the size of the plant pot, and then it stops growing. So it's like, what is it about a lobster that doesn't like when it gets like almost to the size? Why it doesn't stop growing? Why it's always got to be that continuous process of breaking through the shell?
Maybe
why
that's
doesn't
like
it
the
just?
next.
It's weird that there are several animals like that though. I mean, we talked about crocodiles, and like, crocodiles never stop growing.
Yeah.
So crocodiles will carry on growing until they die. That's why obviously you would sometimes find sometimes people just stumble across a crocodile that's probably like 100 years old and it's like over 20 foot long. But obviously most crocodiles aren't that old and they're not that big, but theoretically
they can live forever.
long as they have a food source and they can keep on going and they're not killed from like an external thing like a shotgun to the head, they will just keep growing.
That's what I mean. I wonder what that is. It's like that gene, that growth gene that keeps you
growth
going.
Hormone.
The growth hormone. Yeah, like we just get to
reach maturity.
We reach maturity and then that's that.
It seems to be almost like a mammalian thing. Like if you think about like a lion doesn't just keep getting bigger and bigger. No. Imagine then you just had like a lion the size of like a rhino or like an elephant. Like like a lion will reach maturity and then it will stay that size.
Yeah.
Same with like a gorilla, humans, bears. We don't just keep growing infinitely. No. Imagine if there was just. I mean, bears are already the size of like freaking 4x4s. Imagine if there was just one out there that was like.
Maybe it is like the exoskeleton thing, or like you think of like a hide of a crocodilio.
Yeah.
And it's like hard, isn't it? And it's almost like that reptilian like.
I don't think crocodiles shed their skin though.
No, they don't shed their skin. No. But I
Snakes
mean, like they're quite hard, aren't they?
Like, And reptilian thick hide.
And then like even like a lobster, it's like a hard exoskeleton, and like, what was the other one? Oh, jellyfish. No, jellyfish. Oh no, but they revert back to. They don't keep growing. They revert back to their infantile
become a child
state.
again.
Yeah.
Crazy
it is very fascinating, man. It is very fascinating. I said nature is a beautiful and fascinating thing.
Oh, crazier than magic.
I'll tell you one really interesting thing that I found out recently. You might have to help me out, Flambard, because I don't remember what type of early hominid it was, but they found an early hominid. So a hominid is like an upright ape that is not actually a human, but was in some ways human-like. So it was like an upright ape that walked bipedally, but it was like a small ape. So it wasn't. I know there's Homo habiliensis, I think, which is like a small type
habanero.
of habanero pepper. Homo, which is like a very, very small type of hominid. But the one I'm thinking of, they found, I think, in
South Africa.
I think it was, yeah. And they found out that it was preyed upon by giant eagles. Oh. And there used to be like giant eagles with like 11-foot wingspan.
Oh my god!
And they found like these dens, these ancient dens in like caves, and there's like these giant broken eagle eggs.
Eggs.
And then there's like the remains of all these different types of animals, and mixed in there's like the skulls,
the wee pygmy humans
of these little humans with like claw marks on the skulls, where they've where they literally would have been like picked up out of the sky.
Crazy.
And apparently